Trey Benson was a bust in year one, but he won't be in year two. We'll tell you why next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. And then you can always check out his great work over on SI. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the biggest players you need to be buying, selling, and holding on to from the NFC West. Fabs, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to buy Trey Benson. Right now, his ADP is near 120. He's the RB 37. He's 22 years old. And as you mentioned at the top, he didn't do anything as a rookie, but that's because James Conner actually stayed healthy. And James Conner had a good year. He had over 1,500 total yards, 9 touchdowns, and over 250 fantasy points. But here's the thing. That was the first time he played in 16 games in a season in his entire career. And he had missed at least 4 games in the previous 2 years. So it was a really good year for Conner, both statistically and in terms of his health. Now, entering his age 30 season, you have to wonder how much he has left in the tank. I mean, a very good player, but a player who's also had some durability issues during his career. And Conner also has 3 more years on his contract, but the Cardinals have an opt-out in 2026, which means that if this season doesn't go well and he either regresses or there are injuries, they have Benson, who they drafted in the 3rd round in 2024, waiting in the wings. And at some point, I think sooner rather than later, and maybe it doesn't happen this year unless Conner goes down with an injury, Benson's going to be an attractive fantasy option among running backs.
I'm all in with you. I like Trey Benson a lot coming out of Florida State. You look at like all of his advanced metrics from PFF. He had a 96 percentile rushing grade, a 100th percentile missed tackles forced per attempt. The only other players that are in the same range as him, Bijan Robinson and Ashton Genty. Pretty good. Yards after contact, 91st percentile. Did not fumble at Florida State. This was somebody who was a really good prospect, but he fell to the top of the 3rd round because of some injury stuff that happened early on in his college career. He had a pretty significant knee injury. He's fought and come all the way back from that. I just think this is a really talented player on an offense, Fabs, that I think is going to be better than maybe what most people anticipate. I mean, you've got a dominant tight end in Trey McBride. We think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be much better in year 2. And I still think Kyler Murray is better than maybe the league consensus. So I want Trey Benson on my team this year.
No question about it. And again, it might not be an instant gratification sort of situation, but trust me, at some point in the near future, Trey Benson is going to get an opportunity to be the Cardinals featured back. And it might be as soon as 2026, unless Conner goes down. But Conner is getting to that age where running backs typically, historically, I love my trends, they start to break down a little bit. And at 30 years old, coming off of a season where he played more games than he had ever played before, I do worry that Conner could be a candidate to potentially break down.
All right, I want to give you the guy that I'm buying from the NFC West, and it's actually Sam Darnold, which it's hard to believe that Sam Darnold.
Let me wait. I'm going to sit back and listen to this. Go ahead.
It's really about the price tag for me because he's being drafted as as quarterback 30 right now in dynasty leagues. You've got guys like Jalen Milroe, who was drafted in the later part of the 3rd round, who is the backup to Sam Darnold, going multiple spots ahead of him. You got guys like Anthony Richardson, who we don't even think is going to start this year, who we think is going to lose that job to Daniel Jones, going 5 spots ahead of him. Sam Darnold's 28. He's not 38. Like, he's still relatively young. He played well last year. And I think one of the things that makes me feel the most confident about this is his offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, was in San Francisco in 2023 when Sam Darnold was the backup there. So this is an offense that he knows well. It's going to be pretty similar to what Kevin O'Connell runs in Minnesota. And I like the weapons. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I like what they did in the draft, grabbing Gray Zabel. We're going to talk about Elijah Arroyo in a second. I just think he's a big value at quarterback 30. He has to basically, all he has to do to return value at that spot is play. Like, that is it.
I understand from that perspective why you would have Darnold here. I just look at a quarterback who had failed statistically in every season that he played before he went into Minnesota's offense, where his options were Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, a good back in Aaron Jones Sr., and an offense under Kevin O'Connell that has been extremely quarterback friendly. And we've seen that even with a guy like Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs. We've seen that. Now you go to Seattle, and as much as I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I do dig him, I think the talent around Sam Darnold is significantly decreased. Cooper Kupp,
without a doubt, there's no doubt.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp is not the same guy. I think he's going to be a dud this season. When you're a 32-year-old wide receiver and you go to a new team, typically things do not work out. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, okay, but come on, and I think they got to run the ball to be successful. And that means a lot of Kenneth Walker, and hopefully he avoids injuries, and Zach Charbonnet. So while I understand your point in that he's basically free coming off a top 10 season, and maybe we're going to be wrong about Sam Darnold. Maybe Sam Darnold suddenly saw the light and he's going to be great. I just don't think so, because he's not in Minnesota anymore. I'd rather have JJ McCarthy in a redraft. And this is a guy who has never thrown a pass in the NFL, and Darnold's coming off a top 10 season. Obviously, in Dynasty, we're talking about a little bit of a different animal. He's still relatively young. You mentioned he's 28 years old. Sam Darnold has to prove to me that he was not a product of the offense and the talent in Minnesota, and maybe he will. I just don't think so.
I get what you're saying. Like, he's not going to put up the numbers that he put up last year because the talent's not there. But he doesn't need to at this price, right? Like, QB 30. That's the part that I can't get behind, is we've seen a lot of quarterbacks wash out and then join other teams, and Baker Mayfield. Now, I know Baker stayed in one spot, but Baker Mayfield's now a top 15 dynasty quarterback. Jared Goff. Like, there's been these guys that have bounced around. I think Sam Darnold can be a usable quarterback 2 in super flex leagues. And that's all I'm advocating for. I think at QB 30, would I rather have him or Jalen Milroe? I'd rather have Darnold. At least I know that Darnold's going to be starting for one single year. Then I look at, Jackson Dart, Anthony Richardson, even, Justin Fields a little bit. Who knows how long Justin Fields is going to get to start with the Jets. I'm just saying, I think he should be in that similar range. Justin Fields right now is going at pick 164 in startup drafts. Sam Darnold is at 250. I don't understand why there's 100 pick difference, considering Darnold's the quarterback that got more money in the open market this offseason.
Yeah, and I think Seattle probably overpaid for him.
And they might have, right?
Again, listen, man, I'm sure Sam Darnold is a wonderful human being. I just, all I've seen, eye test, and I get it, Adam Gase with his, speaking of eyes, I mean, and then, you go to Carolina, and I understand. I get it. He was not in great spots, although we thought he would have been, and he wasn't ultimately. But call me a negative Nancy. It's fine. I need to see it for myself. I need to see Sam Darnold have a full season of success in the NFL in an offense that doesn't include Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson, and is not run by Kevin O'Connell. I need to see it. And listen, I will come on this podcast at the end of the season if Sam Darnold is a top 10, top 15 quarterback and say, hey, I'll eat all the crow you want me to. But until he does it, I just don't believe in him.
Remember when Clinton Kubiak had that Saints offense rolling to start the year? Remember they played our Cowboys, and what was it?
Beat the hell out of the Cowboys.
Week 2. Yeah. And they just, and then Derek Carr got hurt and all the receivers got hurt, and we never really got to see it. So it's partly, this is a bet on Clinton Kubiak as well, who I just think is a really good offensive minded coach. We'll see. I'm curious to see if Sam Darnold can greatly outperform his ADP. All right, let's talk about some players we are selling from the NFC West including a running back that Fabs has been down on all year. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute that you wanted to head to the ballpark with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you have to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without all of the stress. With the money that you save on tickets, you can now splurge on food, drinks, merch, or maybe you could even invite a bigger group to the ball field. And Game Time makes it all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple, and prices on the app actually go down the closer that you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. My favorite thing about Game Time is their panoramic seat view. You're going to know exactly what your seats look like in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Just a little heads up, on Monday's show, we're going to talk about the biggest winners and losers from week one of NFL training camps around the league. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that. But Fabs, let's talk about some players that we are selling from the NFC West. Who do you got?
Listen, I'm Christian McCaffrey. I just don't want anything to do with him. And I get it. Dynasty is different than redraft. Although redraft, he's in the first round now based on ADP. It's insane. But he's the RB15 right now, going in the low 40s based on ADP. Listen, folks, I get it. You know, he has been one of the great, and I mean great running backs in fantasy football, like LaDainian Tomlinson level, Marshall Faulk level, like elite. In fact, if Christian McCaffrey had stayed healthy, Marcus, we may be talking about him being the best running back in the history of fantasy football. But that is a big if, and it hasn't happened. Okay? 7 games or fewer. He's played in 3 of the last 5 years. Last year, he had the Achilles. Missed all but up into week 10. Played 4 games, averaged only 12 points per game, and then got hurt again. Listen, I understand that McCaffrey could end up being one of the top 5 running backs in fantasy football, but he could also end up being a guy that you're absolutely just dreading is on your roster because he got hurt again. And when I see a trend like this, and this has been most of the second half of McCaffrey's career, you always have to worry about McCaffrey going down with an injury. And based on what the 49ers have right now in offense, and think about it, Brandon Ayuk, I don't know when he's coming back. Okay? Ricky Pearsall, we like. He's not durable. Let's hope he is. They're going to have to lean on Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going to be able to do that and have his body hold up. So what you going to do, brother, when Christian McCaffrey gets hurt and your fantasy roster goes down the toilet? That's my problem. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, by the way. I'm so bummed out, man. Ozzy Osbourne and then Hulk Hogan.
I know.
It's terrible. All of us 80s kids are like so bummed out right now. But anyways,
Hulk Hogan is in my favorite movie of all time, by the way. You want to guess what movie that is?
Hulk Hogan was in it?
Yeah.
Rocky 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you
gotta be.
Yeah,
all right,
of course.
We can do a whole podcast on which Rocky is the best Rocky, by the way. Anyways, but the bottom line here is that McCaffrey comes with so much risk, and unless you handcuff him with Isaac Guerrero, which is a very smart, dare I say, must move in your draft, you could end up kind of holding the bag with McCaffrey. And so, it's one of those things where people are just like, it's the glamour, right? It's like, look how good he can be and look how good he's been. And oh my God, if I get him, he can help me win a championship this season. And yeah, all of those things are true. But it's also true. He always gets hurt. And last year when he played, he was an average fantasy running back. He was not elite. He was not great. And he's 29 years old. So how many more good years of McCaffrey do you have left? Maybe 1? And we don't even know if it's an elite year. So that's why I'm just out on McCaffrey. I don't want anything to do with him. If you want him, go ahead and take the chance. Get Garendo. I wouldn't be surprised if Garendo started as many games as McCaffrey in 2025.
So I'm not opposed to drafting Christian McCaffrey in redraft leagues, best ball leagues, but we're not talking about redraft and best ball. We're talking about dynasty. And I'm with you. I don't understand why he's being valued so highly, considering the injury history, how much wear and tear is already on his body, and because what you can get from him. If you go look at some of the recent trades over on Dynasty League Football, it's unbelievable what's happening here. Like, I'm going to give you some examples. These are all within the last 6 days, Fab. So very, very recent. Christian McCaffrey for Jalen Warren, Rome Odunze, and 150 blind bidding dollars.
I love that. 150 blind bidding dollars.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
I mean, we're taking. I would take Rome straight up for Christian McCaffrey. So just the other stuff is just.
I mean, again, like you're talking about maybe 1 year, maybe
right,
1 year.
Here's another one. Christian McCaffrey in pick 312 for Jonathan Taylor in pick 209. So not only are you getting a higher pick, but for me, you're getting a much better running back.
Yeah, that's a drunk trade. I take that all day long. I don't get what they're thinking there.
All right, this is a non-super flex league. No, sorry, this is a super flex league. Okay. Christian McCaffrey and TJ Hawkinson for Justin Herbert.
Christian McCaffrey and TJ Hawkinson for Justin Herbert in a dynasty super flex.
Yep.
Yeah. I get it.
I'm telling you.
I get it, man. I get it.
One more. Christian McCaffrey and 2 second-round picks for Chase Brown.
I would much rather have Chase Brown all day long. Have you heard the reports about Chase Brown?
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to get
how he's going to be a big part of the Bengals offense. And it's funny too, because like when I saw Chase Brown initially, the first thing I thought of was Austin Eckler. Did you? Because the build, the number, I said
the
Austin
explosiveness.
Eckler. Yep. I love Chase Brown. Chase Brown didn't even start a full complement of games last year.
Yeah.
And he still finished 10th in fantasy points. And if you look at Cincinnati, and it's like kind of an underrated kind of thing. You look at Cincinnati's history of running backs. Like, think about it. Okay. First off, obviously, Joe Mixon was very good. Corey Dillon was very good. Rudy Johnson was good. Remember Rudy Johnson? Rudy Johnson was very good. They had James Brooks. Like the Bengals historically, because, I love to look at history, and I may have even missed a running back here or there, have always had good running backs. I've always had good running backs. And I think Chase Brown looks like he's going to be the next guy. And Chase Brown is somebody that if you want to go after wide receivers earlier in a draft, like Chase Brown could still end up being out there, end of the second round, third round, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm really high on Chase Brown.
I got one guy that I want to mention as a sell, and it's not a big one, and I don't feel super strong about it, but Brock Purdy is QB 12 right now, and I was advocating for him to be higher this offseason because he was being drafted in that QB 16, QB 17 range, and then he got his contract extension, and it's now up to QB 12, which is just a little high for me. There's a couple guys behind him that I like a little bit more, but I don't see somebody that's probably going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And maybe he does because of volume, but he just doesn't have the rushing upside. And frankly, the pass catching weapons they leave a lot to be desired. I know that can change year over year. I just think QB 12 is a little rich, but if I can flip him for a Justin Herbert, I would do that all day.
There's a world where the Niners are not going to be good this year. Like, I mean, like, you think about the Niners,
the easiest schedule in the league though. So that does help.
Right. That certainly does help, but they have injuries right now. They have a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the football. So
yeah, we'll see. All right, let's talk about some players that we are keeping on the bottom of our rosters in the NFC West. We're going to call them some sleepers to target. And actually, we have some differing takes on some NFC West tight ends. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions that we absolutely live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and Fabs are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 new big features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And it all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned and start creating your fantasy league on Yahoo Fantasy Football. Make sure you go check out all the offers and all of their great features at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That is yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We wanted to let you know that the Locked On NFL Top 100 is here, voted on by the NFL host of the Locked On Podcast Network. Our Top 100 was formed by experts that cover these teams and players every single day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, favorite part of the show. Let's do some sleepers. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with a player whose name has been in the fantasy news lately, and that's Elijah Arroyo, who is currently right now being drafted in the 170s based on ADP data. We know Noah Fant's been released, so he doesn't have a clear path to a year one workload because they do have some competition there, most notably in terms of AJ Barner. But we've already talked about how maybe he's not going to be much in terms of a pass catcher. But Arroyo is a guy who, in his final season at Miami of Florida, 590 yards, 7 touchdowns. He graded in the top 20 among FBS tight ends with a minimum of 30 targets last season. He was only one player at the position to actually average more yards per catch in FBS. He was tremendous, 17 yards per catch last season. He was 6th in terms of NFL passer rating when targeted. He has got some upside. Now, there are some injury issues and there's some durability concerns. But when you look at Seattle's roster, and we just talked about this, besides Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's guaranteed to get targets? Okay, I don't believe in Cooper Kupp. I don't think Cooper Kupp will play half the season, and if he does, he's not going to be as good.
Right? I believe in the quarterback throwing them the ball. That's all.
You love Sam Darnold. I want to see you wearing a Sam Darnold.
I might have to get one
Seahawks jersey, as long as it's the old school one, like the '80s one. Then not the ones now. Even though they're not bad, I like the old ones. But the bottom line here is that I think Arroyo, all of a sudden, with Fant gone, that path to workload certainly cleared up a little bit, and he's a player who does come with risk. But again, he's coming off the board at 173. And he's 22 years old. And the Seahawks took him in the second round. So you're not drafting the tight end in the second round with the thought that, hey, it's going to be a committee type of tight end. We're not going to Of course you are. Of course you are. Miami also has a history of producing really good tight ends in the NFL, right? There's Jeremy Shockey, Bubba Franks. We can go
Greg Olsen.
Calvin Winslow. What's that?
Greg Olsen's one.
There's a ton of them, right? Again, you guys know I like that kind of stuff, so I'll lean on that as well. But the bottom line for Arroyo is that now with Fant out of the picture, he is a much more attractive dynasty option. I don't know that I'm in love with him in redraft, but in dynasty, he's got a shot to be the tight end of the future in Seattle. And in fact, I think the Seahawks coaches and scouting department would be disappointed if he did not earn that label sooner rather than later.
And he's just a perfect fit for Clint Kubiak, who wants these tight ends that make plays after the catch, where a lot of their targets come on like play action and rollouts and that kind of stuff. And it's all about getting upfield. That's where Arroyo was fantastic for Miami last year. So I think it's a really strong scheme fit. We'll see what the quarterback situation looks like because, yes, Sam Darnold's really on a one-year deal. I've got confidence that he's going to be at least competent, which is fine. I love it. I think he's a really good bet, but I actually like it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Even if Jalen Milroe is the quarterback in 2026, who cares? I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
I like a tight end in the NFC West a little bit better.
I know you do. I know who you're going to say.
It's Terence Ferguson, who is tight end 18 right now. I'm going to be curious to see what the ADPs are of these two tight ends once we get to August, because I've got to believe now that Noah Fant's gone, Elijah Arroyo's ADP is going to go up. But I like Terence Ferguson for a lot of reasons. He is not a blocking guy at all. He doesn't block at all, right? So when he's on the field, he's going to be on the field as a pass catcher. And if you've watched any of these, like, during the draft videos of the Rams, like Sean McVay loves him. He was trying to tell Les Snead to go trade up from pick, I think 47, to go get him because he was so nervous that Ferguson was going to be off the board. And he was telling Les, like, hey, I've got a vision for this guy and how I'm going to use him. And he's somebody that our offense is lacking. If Sean McVay believes in a player this much, that he's going to design touches. And I just think when Tyler Higbee's gone after this year, it's going to be Ferguson playing it as that, slot guy. I just really, really like his talent. I think he's a steal at tight end 18.
I like him too. But I mean, there's not anything that I can look at and think, well, this wouldn't work. This Sean McVay offense. Higbee's going to be gone after this season. Higbee has not been durable. Maybe he's not going to play a full 17 in 2025, and that'll give Ferguson, a little bit of experience in the NFL game, playing a prominent role. We'll find out. I do definitely like Ferguson to be the number one tight end for the Rams here, maybe starting next season and into the future. No doubt about it.
So we had 3 second-round tight ends that we've mentioned on the show. Mason Taylor, who went to the Jets, Terence Ferguson with the Rams, and then Elijah Arroyo with the Seahawks. Of these 3, who do you think is the most likely to score the most? Let me rephrase that. Which of these tight ends do you think is going to score the most points in 2025, and which one do you want long-term?
The answer is the same for me. I want Taylor. Taylor is on a Jets team, and by the way, Justin Fields, we saw a video of him earlier today back on the practice field. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was running. So that's good. Thank God.
Yes.
I love Justin Fields. I don't want him to be hurt. The first thing I thought of was like, oh no, it's the Jets curse again.
I know.
Because again, I'm funny like that, and I kind of dig those things. And the Jets, the last time they drafted a good quarterback was Joe Namath. Like, I'm not
that's not true. They had Chad Pennington, great guy.
Oh, Chad Pennington was a 500 quarterback. Come on,
yeah, he was a good quarterback though. He was like in MVP conversations for a little bit.
He was meh. All right, whatever. Anyways, no, Chad Pennington. Come on.
Mark Sanchez took him to back-to-back AFC Championship games.
Is best known for running into the butt of his offensive lineman. Come on, man.
Trent those guys aren't bad, but yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt your narrative. Go ahead.
Anyways, listen, Mason Taylor has got the bloodline, okay? His old man is a Hall of Famer. He won't come off the field because he can do it all as a tight end. And the Jets' number 2 wide receiver right now is who? Who is it? Is it?
I'm hoping Malachi Corley, but probably.
I mean, I don't. Is it Alan Lazard? Probably. I don't know. I mean, it's whatever it is. It's not good. Okay, no. It's not a good situation right now for the Jets. So they're going to have opportunities in that passing game. And Fields has shown that he likes to throw to the tight ends in his career. Mm-hmm. So when you factor all that in, and again, Fields is on a 2-year deal, so we're not sure what long-term situation that's going to be. But I like Mason Taylor a lot. And Mason Taylor may have been a better statistical player at LSU had he not been playing with like these bananas elite wide receivers, like Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors and guys like that. So yeah, Taylor's my dude among those tight ends.
I think I would go Ferguson, Taylor, Arroyo. But I like all 3. Like, I thought all 3 were really good prospects that deserve to go in the second round. So I think one of your strategies should be this year in dynasty leagues, get your, top echelon tight end, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, whoever, and then try to stash one of these guys on the bottom of your roster because they're very talented guys that, they have the profile to be, league winners if they hit in their respective situations.
By the way, the Jets depth chart at wide receiver, just so you guys are aware, is Garrett Wilson, yes. Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Arian Smith, Tyler Johnson, and the aforementioned Malachi Corley. Mason Taylor's got a really good shot to catch 40 or 50 balls this season.
That's true. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. We'll see you on Monday when we're talking about the biggest winners from week 1 of training camps across the NFL. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.